Every Formula One driver presses the same throttle pedal. Every car runs under the same electronic regulations. And every team can see throttle input down to thousandths of a second. So here's the real question engineers quietly obsess over. Why does Lewis Hamilton's throttle data still look different from almost everyone else's? At first glance, throttle control seems simple. Exit the corner, press the pedal, go faster. But modern Formula One makes that idea dangerously misleading, because today's hybrid power units deliver massive torque instantly, especially from the electric side, with no gradual buildup like older, naturally aspirated engines, meaning power arrives immediately. And if it arrives faster than grip allows, performance doesn't increase, it actually drops. This is where Hamilton separates himself, because instead of smashing the throttle to 100% the moment the steering wheel begins to straighten, he builds power progressively, and his telemetry reflects that with a smooth, rising curve instead of a sharp spike, sometimes even pausing briefly at partial throttle, not out of caution, but because he's synchronizing torque with grip. Rear tires don't gain grip instantly. Grip grows as the car straightens, as downforce builds, and as load stabilizes, and Hamilton feeds in power at exactly the same rate that grip develops, making timing the decisive factor. Because while many drivers reach full throttle earlier, Hamilton reaches effective acceleration earlier. That difference doesn't show up in highlight clips or dramatic replays. It shows up in averages. Average traction, average exit speed, average tire temperature. And while over a single corner it looks insignificant, over an entire race stint it becomes devastating. This is why engineers often say the fastest drivers aren't the ones who hit full throttle first. They're the ones who hit it correctly, because throttle control isn't just about acceleration. It governs rear grip, tire heat, suspension loading, and even steering stability, where one small mistake can trigger a chain reaction. Wheel spin creates heat, heat kills grip. Grip loss forces corrections, and corrections generate even more heat. Hamilton avoids that cascade almost instinctively, and that leads to the most unsettling part for everyone else on the grid. Because this isn't something you can simply copy from data, since throttle traces only show what happened, not why it happened. And that leaves one final question hanging in the data rooms of every team. If Hamilton's throttle technique is so measurable, so visible, and so studied, why has no one truly replicated it, even with full telemetry access? On paper, aggressive throttle should win every time. More power sooner equals faster acceleration, right? In Formula One, that logic breaks down the moment tires enter the equation, because every racing tire operates within an optimal slip ratio, usually around 5 to 10%, where grip is maximized. Below that range, the tire isn't fully loaded, and above it, grip falls off sharply. And modern hybrid torque makes it incredibly easy to overshoot that sweet spot. This is where Lewis Hamilton separates himself, because his throttle traces consistently hover near optimal slip, while other drivers spike past it, sometimes only briefly, but those tiny moments of excess slip don't look dramatic on onboard footage and rarely trigger wheel spin alarms. Yet they reduce average acceleration over the entire corner exit. Hamilton's smoother input generates higher usable traction, even if peak throttle arrives a fraction later, which is why he often looks deceptively calm on corner exits, with no drama, no correction, and no visible fight. The car staying neutral, and neutrality creating confidence, confidence enabling repetition, and repetition winning races. Now add temperature to the equation, because rear tire surface temperature can spike within seconds under wheel spin, and once surface temperatures exceed the working window, grip drops rapidly, even if the tire looks visually fine. While Hamilton's progressive throttle keeps surface temperatures stable, protecting the carcass temperature underneath. And that stability is what allows him to sustain long-run pace when others begin to fade. This is also why Hamilton's reputation for tire management isn't just about lifting and coasting late in stints. It's embedded directly into his throttle behavior from the very first lap, shaping grip, heat, and balance before degradation ever becomes visible. And there's another layer most fans never see. If you're enjoying this breakdown and want more stories that go beyond lap times and headlines, make sure you're subscribed, because these videos connect together, and the next one dives into a side of Formula One most people completely miss. Throttle spikes compress the rear suspension suddenly, shifting weight aggressively, and if grip isn't there, the rear steps out, forcing steering corrections. Corrections increase slip angle. Slip angle creates more heat, and the cycle repeats. While Lewis Hamilton's smooth torque delivery avoids that spiral entirely, keeping the car balanced, and balanced cars are faster, not because they look aggressive, but because they waste nothing. If throttle control influences tires, balance, and race pace this deeply, why can't teams just program this behavior into the car? This is where data stops and driving begins, because teams absolutely try to smooth torque delivery with throttle maps, but no algorithm can perfectly predict steering angle, surface grip changes, tire temperature evolution, battery deployment timing, and driver intention at the same time. Meaning throttle control isn't just electronics, it's timing, sensation, and anticipation. Hamilton constantly adjusts power based on micro-feedback through the chassis, feedback most drivers don't consciously register, and engineers often note how accurately he reports rear grip levels over the radio, sometimes before the data confirms it, creating a feedback loop that allows setups to evolve around his style. That loop reinforces itself because his throttle technique preserves tires. Preserved tires deliver predictable grip. Predictable grip increases confidence, and confidence allows even finer throttle modulation, feeding the cycle again and again. Critics often argue that Hamilton's success came purely from dominant machinery, but telemetry comparisons during less competitive seasons still show the same throttle patterns. The results changed, the technique didn't. Which brings us to an uncomfortable truth. Throttle mastery isn't a skill you learn quickly. It's built over years of sensitivity training, mistakes, corrections, and instinct. Now shift the focus forward, because the 2026 regulations will dramatically increase electric power contribution, with nearly half of total output coming from instant electric torque, making throttle modulation more critical than ever before. With no turbo lag and no natural smoothing effect, torque arriving immediately, and punishing drivers who rely on brute force exits while rewarding those who can meter power with surgical precision. But there's a twist. Because cars are expected to be lighter, reduced weight lowers tire loads. Lower loads can reduce degradation. And if degradation drops enough, the advantage of perfect throttle control could narrow, raising the real question of which effect wins, more torque sensitivity or less tire punishment. Will the 2026 era amplify Hamilton's greatest strength or quietly neutralize it? Fans celebrate overtakes. They remember pole laps. They replay crashes. But throttle traces live on engineering monitors where championships are quietly decided. And Hamilton's advantage has never been flashy. It's invisible, repeatable, and brutally consistent. Because while others fight the car on exits, he's already preparing for the next braking zone with stable temperatures and preserved grip. That's why his race pace often looks stronger than his qualifying pace, because over 1 lap aggression can mask inefficiency, but over 60 laps, inefficiency always surfaces. This is also why younger drivers struggle to copy him. They can see the data, they can understand the theory, but feel cannot be downloaded. And as Formula One moves toward a future dominated by electric torque, energy management, and precision rather than raw spectacle, these invisible skills matter more than ever, because throttle control won't trend on social media, but it will quietly decide who adapts and who falls behind. So if this advantage is real, measurable, and studied endlessly, why does it still belong to so few drivers? Here's the final question engineers, fans, and rivals are all circling around. Was Lewis Hamilton fast because of his throttle technique, or did years of elite machinery allow that technique to flourish? The truth is uncomfortable for both sides, because the data suggests it's not one or the other, it's both. His throttle control didn't appear by accident, and it didn't disappear when conditions changed. It adapted quietly and efficiently. As Formula One heads into a new regulatory era where precision may matter more than aggression, this kind of invisible mastery could once again become the defining separator. Because speed isn't just about how hard you press the pedal. Sometimes it's about knowing when not to. If you could choose one hidden skill to define the next generation of F1 champions, would it be throttle control or something even deeper? If this discussion made you question where the sport is heading, you should watch Why Verstappen Wants to Quit F1 in 2026 and Why He Won't, which explores the real frustrations behind the scenes, regulation changes, driving feel, and why Max Verstappen has openly questioned Formula One's future, even while remaining right at the center of it. Because it's not clickbait, it's about understanding why one of the sport's best drivers feels conflicted at the very peak of his career.